So at Guangfu Shi Lu, on a warm October day, I'm going to step out of view so you can see the view better and tell you what you can see. The historical images we have are 1993 and 2004. And the differences between 2004 and 1993 are obvious, but the differences between 2004 and today, 2021, are pretty clear too. So let me just sort of walk you through them. On the left-hand side are these riverside apartment complexes, which are obviously all post-2004. I should say, of course, that we're on the Suzhou Creek, looking essentially due north in this view. The cylindrical building that is in the 2004 image is almost completely hidden by new apartment complexes. Then in the distance you have a black, probably an office building, that is partially hiding a building behind it, which is more visible in 2004. And then the building with the pyramid top, which in 2004 has a blue top, has now changed its top. In fact, you can see attached to that building in 2004 a tower crane. So it must have been in its sort of final stages of being built in 2004. And then the apartment complex to its immediate right has been refaced. And most of what's on the right-hand side then of that pyramid-topped building is relatively the same as 2004. The embankment of Suzhou Creek here has been greenified or parkified, whichever way you want to put it. And of course now the creek is far less of a working creek than it ever used to be. Now here we are in a metro station, one of the few that is above ground, because this time we're going to get a view of the historical view from the window of the train, because it's impossible to get a view otherwise. So at least you'll get some bonus treatment, you'll get some bonus material of the metro line. Line 3 and 4. And here we go. Tension mounts. Will the doors alarm go off? Here we go. Will we ever get a view? Possibly not. Oh, here we go. There you go. Well, that was it. That's your lot, baby. So today we're comparing two images from 1976 and 2004 to this one in 2021. This is the Changshu Lu Chao, or the Changshu Road Bridge. It crosses Suzhou Creek, which is running this way, which we'll see a bit later. And the principal differences, aside from this significantly newer bridge, most of which is flying over the Suzhou Creek, are these towers and buildings on the left-hand side of the road. These apartment blocks on our immediate left and in the foreground do go back to 2004 at least. Of course, in 1976 there was nothing here apart from a barren bridge. Although these tram lines, these cable lines above the road here were there in 1976 and 2004 and now. I'm not sure they're the same ones, but in the same position at least. And for spatial context, over there is the Orthanc Tower, as we've been calling it, which is the Marriott Hotel, which marks the western edge of People's Square in central Shanghai. And we're probably about 5 or 6 miles, or 8 or 9 kilometers from there. And then in front of me and behind the camera is a forest of apartment complexes, but we don't know what that looked like in 2004. This is the Changhua Lu Chao, or Changhua Road Bridge. The images we're looking at today are 1979 and 2004, and of course we are 2021. The bridge itself has been intact since 2004. I mean, obviously a lot has changed since 1979. The principal difference between 2004 and now are these apartment blocks on the right-hand side and in the foreground. The other ones date from at least 2004. But perhaps most interestingly, at this site, and we will cross the bridge, or at least go halfway to go backwards, is this amazing building called the 1000 Tree Building. It is unique in Shanghai. It is possibly unique in the world. Let's take a look. So this is the reason why we want to move the camera over to the bridge to get a view of this wonderful building. It's even more wonderful actually if you go around the corner slightly. It's called 1000 Tree Building for obvious reasons, I guess. I've not counted the trees, but there are hundreds. I'm sure there are hundreds, particularly since this is just the corner of the building. And I'm going to get the camera to pan a little bit to the left. So now you can see the Suzhou Creek running toward downtown Shanghai that way. So we're basically looking east or maybe northeast in that direction. And I'm going to ask my wonderful director to pan around 180 degrees, in fact. And what we'll look at here so the Suzhou Creek meanders through the northern part of Shanghai. Of course, it goes all the way to Suzhou. But in these meander loops, there are corners of greenery, of parkland, which is nice. I mean, they could have developed everywhere. In fact, they have developed in many places, but not everywhere. But we are going to head over toward that small park and find the next historical sort of imagery. So, 1980 images and 2004 of Panjia 1. I am going to get out of the way any second. The only difference here is a black office building, or maybe apartment complex, that has a sort of a crude ziggurat form to it. And some minor cosmetic details where they put in a walkway that covers the sort of convex, grass-covered embankment that you can see in 2004. Otherwise, aside from more greenery on that side, and the installation of a metro station that you might be able to hear every now and then as a train stops, there isn't a lot of difference here. The apartment buildings that you can see in front of you are still there, even the one on the extreme right. Well, I say are still there. They were there in 2004. But of course the biggest contrast between 1980 and 2004. And the minor creek that you can see as a tributary to the Suzhou Creek is completely invisible now. We have the good fortune of a small, I think it's a police craft, coming down the river here. So not the most exciting of images, but at least you can see that not everything changes all the time. Now, the view across the river to the apartment complexes is not that interesting. The view behind the camera, as usual, is more interesting, because here on this meander loop of the Suzhou Creek is the Mengqing Park, which we're not getting a great vantage of it from here, but it's a lovely park, take it from me. There's a wetland inside here too. It's worth a visit. Now this is Pangjie 1 episode 2, if you like. I'm going to take myself out of the way so you can see the picture. But what you should be looking at now is the correct position to compare to the 1980 photograph. And we think that the previous image, although it's the same position for the 2004 image, it's only about 100 meters to our right-hand side. As we were walking through the Mengqing Park here, we noticed the tributary coming in. And whereas before we were sort of hunting for the position of the old tributary, wondering why it had been filled in, I think it's clear from here that it never was filled in. And this is the old position from 1980. So the changes are quite obvious. You have apartment complexes on the other side of the river. There's a small footbridge or road bridge that crosses that tributary. I should say it's a tributary of the Suzhou Creek, of course. The main channel that you're looking at, the main creek, is the Suzhou Creek. It's very quiet, very pleasant here. If you happen to be living in Shanghai, it's a lovely place for a day out. If you're not in Shanghai, well, take my word for it. It's a nice place for a day out.